Good evening, everybody. Thank you. So thank you for attending the third and final forum of the Riverbay 2023 election of the Board of Directors. My name is Lynette Wright. I'm the chair of this year's committee. Also want to introduce Kenneth Graham to my very larger left, who is with us today. We also have Blossom Johns, who is not. She unfortunately had additional familial obligations, so she could not be here today. Also introducing to my immediate left, Jeff Buss, who is the legal counsel for the board in Riverbay Corporation, as well as, I thought Charles was here, but I don't see him. So, Charles is over there. Charles Cooper of Smith, Buss, and Jacobs. So just as a reminder tonight, I'm talking very fast because we have a large amount of questions that are coming through tonight. We are going to try to get to as many as humanly possible. So for the candidates, we are asking you to just be aware of the time, make the time worth it to be able to answer these questions, and not to go over so that we can proceed to the next person. We had 13 questions, but I think we actually have 19. So we're going to try to get as many as we can within the time constraints we have. Again, so shareholders had submitted their questions online as well as through the CSO office. So for anyone who does leave early, it's understood. We are going to be broadcasting this on the Crawler, MATV, as well as on our YouTube channel within the next couple of days. And responses to your questions will also be inside of the Co-op City Times. We have Roseanne Boone, who's the editor-in-chief, who's here, who's transcribing all of these words. So expect that next week. Yep. So we're going to start with the candidate statements. They're going to have 2 minutes each, followed by the questions that you had asked, and then finally followed by a closing statement. So in agreement with what we normally do, we are going to start in order. So we are going to start with Leah Graham. You have 1 minute. 1 minute? I'm sorry, 2 minutes. My apologies. 2 minutes.
Hey, everyone. How are you? Okay, so I'm going to try to make my 2 minutes. I'm watching the clock. I want to say good evening to everyone. My name is Leah Graham. I have been living in Co-op City for about 24 years. I am the president of Building 23, and I was the former director here from 2010 to 2016, where I helped initiate the televised board meetings as well as the orientations for new board directors. So what I want to share is that Shane and I, my teammate, we need your help to resolve some of the issues you raised regarding the continual cycle of our increases, where the 7.5% increase wiped out the 7% Social Security increase given to seniors. Also, being told that the funds, we just need more money, and not establishing budget controls and process improvements, right? So we have these increases, but we haven't done anything to correct those increases, and I think that's an important matter before we start asking for carrying charge increases. So because of my extensive managerial, analyst, contracts, and budget experience, I can offer these solutions to the board, and so can Shana. Let's see, I'm looking at the clock. So in my opinion, from the last forum and conversations with cooperatives, there are issues that need to be changed on the current board, and we're here to provide that support to all of you. Thank you.
Shannon Montgomery.
Good evening, shareholders. At the last forum, it was reported that I sounded like I was angry. And why? Because I'm passionate and respectful of my community. Please do not mistake my words for anger when I say we want what is beneficial for our community. This is not a sign of aggression, but a sign of hope and determination to make a positive change. The power of my words is attributed to my experience as a member of this community for over 23 years. Passion and intensity do not translate into aggression or anger. We believe it is imperative to express strong opinions and speak truth to power for real change. The treatment of our shareholders should motivate us all to be passionate, if not constructively angry, in addition to being concerned about our cooperative's current financial state. We should also be concerned about its future. While a word such as angry doesn't cause offense, it can often be misinterpreted and used misleadingly to conceal the truth. Many of us are suffering economically due to inflated prices, stagnant wages, and a recent 7.5 carrying charge increase. Efforts must be made to improve quality of life by ensuring budget transparency. There's a lot of caution amongst shareholders regarding the utilization of the hard-earned money, of our hard-earned money, especially if they are unaware of how the 7.5 carrying charge increase and 2.1% next year is going to be utilized and benefit our community. This community we cannot sustain this type of increase over and over again. We must hold them accountable for ensuring the system's long-term sustainability through fair practices. Maya Angelou said, "To be angry is very good. It burns out things and leaves nutrients in the soil." We should always be ready to be angry at injustice and cruelty. We are the nutrients for the soil. Please vote for us. Thank you.
Sonia Feliciano.
Good evening, fellow shareholders. As a board, it is our responsibility to report the performance of the corporation to our shareholders while being fiscally accountable to you. We addressed the budget deficit for fiscal year 2022. We collected $250.7 million in revenue, 84% of our budget, which was 84% of our budget. $24.4 million came from storage, garage, and miscellaneous fees. That's 94% of our budget. And 6% came from electric sales to Con Ed, transient parking, and commercial rents. That's 90% of our operational costs go to payroll, benefits, our mortgage that we have to pay every month, debt service, water, sewage, insurance, and real estate taxes. So far, $150 million has been spent on capital improvements. We have to continue to maintain sustainability of our buildings. If not, they'll just fall apart. And that $150 million included the elevators, power plant improvements, and the facade that they're working on today. Management asked for a 10% increase. We were able to find savings to bring it down to 7.5, reducing overtime and not filling positions, which were reduced to 39. Shareholders were asked to go to a hearing, HDR hearing, to discuss the budget. 29 shareholders attended and only 2 asked questions. 10 board directors approved the budget. So you see here 5, 10 board directors approved the budget. Could we do without a budget increase? Unfortunately, due to inflation and other factors, the 7.5 was needed to address the gas prices, which we were paying $4 a decatherm and went up to $18 a decatherm. Double digit. Insurance prices is also, thank you.
Angela Rosario.
Yes, good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be in the presence of our community, trying to figure out how do we continue to run a campus that's so large and so wonderfully put together with so many different problems that we have here and continue to escalate, the problems continue to escalate. How do we figure it out? By coming together with the board, sitting and trying to figure out how do we save every day as we save in our homes and how we change things in our homes. I was just talking to my son, and he lives here in Co-op City, and he says to me, "Pop, what am I going to do?" I said, "Well, you're going to cut your cable off, and you're going to take away your telephone, and you're going to get another job in order for you to make it." And then he said, "But how am I going to be able to do that?" I said, "You work." So the truth of the matter is that he makes $1,000 a week and does not know how to budget correctly. So how do we run a corporation this size without us budgeting correctly when everything is going sky high? Every time we hear the news, we hear what the problem that is out there. We could try to figure out how to keep Co-op City affordable and how to keep it comfortable for each and every one of us. My main worry 90% of the time is the seniors. What can we do for them? So we try to create programs to keep their rent or their carrying charges at a level where it's comfortable for them also. What do we do for one parent? How do we work it out? And how do we keep Co-op City that you get the services that you get, that no other place in the city gets the service that we get 24/7, and we are able to make sure that we make this affordable and keep it affordable. My name is Bishop Rosario.
Thank you. Bernard Silich.
Bernard Silage. Good evening, cooperatives. You know, 2021, 2022, 2023, we adopted, that was the budget we adopted in April of 2021, and it was called for 0 increase the first year and 2% increase the second year. Well, 7 months into the budget, manager came back to us and said, uh-oh, we're in a deficit. We went into a surplus of $5 million, and now we're in deficit of $6 million. Why? Why? Because the inflation suddenly began to boomerang. Oil prices and gas prices, as Sonia mentioned, quadrupled. Asbestos abatement doubled. Our insurance doubled. Where are we going to get the money? Well, management says we're freezing all hiring at this point, and let's see where we go with this. Well, comes September, and tell us we need a 10% increase not to go in default. So they had already dropped 200 personnel. Where are we going to go from there? They says, well, we need a 10% increase. Well, finally, they broke it down to 7.5% increase. Where are we going with that? Now, today, we take a look in the Bronx. The headline in the New York Times says there's a crisis in housing throughout the city. In the Bronx, the median rental for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,900. In Co-op City, the carrying charge for a one-bedroom apartment is $900. So in spite of all these inflationary pressures, we'll be able to keep our carrying charges affordable. We hope to continue doing that.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Greetings, my neighbors and friends and shareholders. In June of 2016, I joined the board. With input from my colleagues and their knowledgeable experience, I got up to speed very quickly on the rules, the regulations, and the policies. The learning curve was steep. It was not insurmountable. It never flattened, it never plateaued, because every day is a new experience for all of us as we continue to learn about new things affecting our community. We are now overseeing a $250 million corporation. We also have to manage a lot of the challenges that are very sobering. We are charged to find solutions in partnership with management and to keep our homes affordable and our community safe. We also have a lot of unfunded mandates. Local Law 11, ADA compliant doors, elevator modernization. We had to do that because our elevators are falling apart. These are the things that these increases in our carrying charges, pays for. There is no fluff left over. However, we understand that everyone is feeling a pinch, but we're paying for labor, insurance, and increases in taxes. At this moment, you are sitting and looking at 5 of 15 board directors who all work together. We passed the budget with a super majority, and we will continue to work collaboratively. So vote for Team Impact: Claudia Sampson, Andrea Leslie, Bernard Salich, Angelo Rosario, and Sonia Feliciano. Thank you for your patience.
Andrea Leslie.
I'm Andrea Leslie, and I'm asking for your vote in this upcoming election to vote for myself, Claudia Sampson, Bernie Silage, and Bishop Angelo Rosario, Sonia Feliciano, for us to continue the progress that we've made while sitting on this board. Everybody knows that we've had carrying charge increases, so I will not address that issue. You already know that. We all know that. But I want you to be aware of something that you may not have been aware of. When we agreed to the $621 million that is funding, that's our mortgage, HUD insisted that we had a 2%, at least 2% increase every single year to the end of the mortgage. And we, having confidence that we would make the financially sound decisions when it was needed, agreed, negotiated with them that we would ask for an increase only when we needed it. And we have financially responsibly done that. We know that we have a mortgage that we don't want to default on. We have repairs that have been delayed many, many years. And so that is the reason why we've had the increases we've had, along with inflation that we had no control of, neither the pandemic. So we all have a bullet biting, and we have to deal with it. We cannot shy away from it, as much as a lot of people, a lot of board members ask for a whole lot of things that all cost money, but we can't all have all of that because it costs money and we don't have that money. Our budget has no extra monies to spend. Any money we get is from the shareholders and other sources of income. So those are the financially sound decisions we're making and we will continue to make.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to get back into the questions, starting with Ms. Florence Williams from from Building 10C. And just an FYI, for those of you, if it's your first time, we will be randomizing the numbers and how they go. So Florence Williams' question is, what have you done to enhance the quality of life for us here in Co-op City? And what she said she was specifically looking for was individual things that you have done. So we are going to start with Sonia Feliciano.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for your question. So in the quality of life, what we have done, individually, is that we had asked for more monies budget to have more CCPD officers. One of the things that we would like to see, especially in our next budget, which is next year, is community policing. We used to have community policing where you had an individual officer know their section, meet with the shareholders of the community. We don't have that because we just don't have the personnel. But that has been a goal of mine for the last couple of years. I think it's going to come to fruition in 2024, where we're able to graduate another class of 22, 24 officers to be able to make that happen. We need to see our officers in the street, not in their cars, okay, and not hiding in some place. We need to see them in the street. That's something that I've been working on, and also the board. I think the board agrees that collectively we should be doing that for our community.
Leah Graham?
Hi. When I was a board director, as I mentioned in my opening, I think I did a lot of things to improve quality of life. One of the things I did was when we had to embrace the dog policy here, I worked really closely with a lot of the cooperatives here, created a committee so that we can discuss what we could do, what flexibilities that we did have under the law. The other thing I did as a building president, I held a CPR training for my building association through the FDNY program. I also, we had a pilot program in our building because we didn't have the lobby attendants. And so we had a monitor in our lobby, and that monitor was a 4-pane. So the shareholders could see in the lobby, in the basement, the back door. We had that pilot. and that was one of the things that I was happy about initiating. But if elected, one of the things that I would work towards is I would advocate for proper treatment of Riverbay employees. I think it's important to provide employees with respect and providing them with the adequate training. Also providing the department directors and supervisors with constructive feedback. I think those things trickle down into the quality of this corporation. Thank you.
Angela Rosario.
That's a fantastic question. Quality of life in our community starts with each and every one of us finding different programs that are going to benefit us all. One of the things that for many years I've always been trying to bring in, and I have brought them in, it's health fairs. Health fairs for our seniors, for our children. We've done many health fairs here in Co-op City. Matter of fact, today I was speaking with some of the doctors from Montefiore to be able to bring back 2 health fairs to Co-op City for our seniors and for our children. I look at seniors and children because then that balances out the rest of the community. And those health fairs are free, where we could sit with the doctors, they examine us, they told us what's going on, and they sent us out to a specialist. So there's 34 doctors that we're going to be bringing in to be able to help our community. Create programs that are going to not only benefit us in the immediate family, but we have extended families with job fairs. How do we help them? And how do we keep this community working and keep our family working? Because if we do not have those programs, what happens is that then whatever you get in, you have to be able to help your children, help somebody else. So creating these programs in a community, it helps the extended community and our family so that we could keep each other happy and content. So that's what we do. Thank you very much.
Shannon Montgomery.
Hi. The biggest thing that I can say I've done so far is running for this board of directors so I could help institute change and make things better for cooperators. I am also an educator of 22 years. I've tutored in the neighborhood. I've watched kids. I've supported local businesses, and I think that's really important to support our local businesses in the community. Just speaking to, senior citizens and asking them their opinion and if they need anything. Is everything okay? Is there someone, that's with you in your apartment? Are you doing all right? Advocating for the cleanliness of my building as well as other buildings. Calling CSO to complain. Letting the board know as well that we need Co-op City Police Department visible in the neighborhood. There's a reason why they were taken away, and it was because of budget. Now we're hearing that they're coming, we're trying to get them back. They should have never left the neighborhood in the first place. We don't have the bicycle riding CCPD anymore, and that was a big plus for us. Monitoring the parking lots, that was a big plus for us. When I would come home late, or my daughter would come home late, just seeing someone visible in the booth and seeing someone visible rolling around there to see when I park made a big difference for me, my safety, as well as safety of senior citizens. Thank you.
Bernard Silage.
Ever since we moved in, and ever since I imagine all of you moved in, one of the troubling issues in this community has been unsolved is the what? The convective flooding, right? Well, as soon as I got on the board, I began to investigate, trying to find some answers to it. Andrew and I went up to Philadelphia and saw a Philadelphia house. It's a condo of 751 units. They had a dual system, convective system that we have, and they solved it. But we invited the engineers who did that work there to come to Co-op City, and they gave us a price, $250 million. That was just prohibitive. We couldn't even touch it. Well, I haven't stopped investigating. Finally, I came up to the construction committee. I'm chairman of it, and we brought it to attention to management. Water sensor automatic shuttle valve that may solve the problem. Right now, they're planning to institute a pilot program of 25 apartments for the summer. And once we get the results, I feel that I'm very confident it'll be resolved. We may bring down the flooding to a trickle. From 700, we spend $7.5 million a year to solve the flooding problem.
Thank you. Claudia Sampson.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. This is my wheelhouse. I chair the Safety and Quality of Life Committee here. And we had started in the beginning with 17 members. It's whittled down to possibly 10. But we also partner with our CCPD team, headed up by Chief Joe Riley and his team. They all attend our meetings, and we work to do things to make sure that you have a safe community. We invited the New York City Sheriff to attend our meeting to talk about the weed truck. The fact of the matter is he explained to us why this problem persists. We also talked about the scooters being left on the sidewalk, and I've asked that we get a response from the city because they launched this pilot program and dropped the ball. And that's why those scooters are sitting on the sidewalk. And I just asked the chief tonight, where do things stand? Because we need to get an answer. Those scooters should not be blocking people's passage and creating hazard. With regards to safety in the garage, I personally asked to have cameras and call boxes installed on each floor in the garage. So we may not have lobby attendants, but we have cameras looking at you every single day. Thank you.
Andrea Leslie.
Before I go, because my time will run out, I ask that you vote for myself, Andrea Leslie, Claudia Sampson, Bernie Silage, Bishop Rosario, and Sonia Feliciano. I have done a number of things, and we've brought here part of a disability committee, the ability sphere with persons coming, vendors coming here to provide information as to services that they might provide for persons who are disabled in the community. We've had the Autism Fund Days for other disabled for families with disabled persons in there. One of the major things that I'm doing currently is I work for a part of the city. I've been a 30-plus year employee for the city, and I work along with Riverbay CSO office departments to help shareholders that are here in crisis, helping them with eviction issues that they're dealing with and other personal things that are going on, especially with seniors. It's not only with seniors, but particularly seniors and disabled shareholders. And every day I make a difference for those persons here, and therefore the quality of life here in Co-op City. A number of other things that we've done. It's numerous. We've also had before.
Can you run out of time?
Thank you.
It's okay.
The next question is from Mr. Dana Avant of Building 20B. His question is in regards to accessibility. He says, if there's a community event, Riverbay will announce on the phone tree. However, the announcement may come in the same day of the event or after 5 p.m. Some of us use paratransit and cannot make reservations after 5 p.m. Also, the Co-op City Times is not accessible to all shareholders who are differently abled, so we may miss out on events when they are printed. How will you make sure that there is equitable access to all shareholders? We're going to start with Ms. Leah Graham.
So, as a board director, we have a very big responsibility, and that responsibility is overseeing the managing agent. The managing agent that we select and hire has a responsibility over the 27 departments within this corporation. And so for me, I would be communicating with the managing agent through the board. We would need to have a conversation with the person that we paid to take care of this property. It would be their responsibility to be in touch with all of the needs and quality issues within this community to ensure that all cooperators, no matter your disability, are able to attend and have some form of access to our community programs. And that would require testing of the systems, making sure that they work, making sure that they continue to communicate out to the community and to shareholders on the different programs that they are establishing. For me, I believe in evaluating based on success. And if the managing agent cannot help this corporation succeed, then that would be a real big concern for me. So I would be holding the managing agent accountable for doing those things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Ms. Andrea Leslie.
I've been trying to address that issue. We do have a Are You Okay program, and I haven't taken a look at it totally to determine how that might be able to assist. And one of the things that we need to try to change is how far in advance of an event that we notify shareholders when there is something. I have the same issue. I'm a working board member, and I'm at work, I have a meeting, and I get a phone tree call that we have a meeting this evening, and I can't reschedule. So that happens to persons who are not disabled. So we have to be more mindful as to how far in advance we give those notices. I have happened to have, my mom has a neighbor who has a sight impairment, and just conversations with him talking about how he might be able to get things addressed. For him, he says he gets his notice, and because he has assistant, someone reads that. But a email to those persons here might be able to help them, because then your email is allowed to speak. So if we try to create a separate list for persons who are disabled, if they give us that information, then we might be able to assist them in that way.
Ms. Shannon Montgomery.
We can't be the problem and the solution. I think we can't continuously say, oh, we're looking at that, we're going to do that. These have been concerns of shareholders for years. We can't just, during an election, say, oh, now is the time for us to really get serious about making changes or get serious about the issues. We can't keep doing that. We have to come up with viable solutions. If you say it's 15 board members, then everybody needs to put their heads together and make changes. You know, there's so much technology out there, you know, for the impaired, for, you know, the legally blind, there's so much technology out there. And if we're going to invest in anything, we need to invest in our people. We need to invest in Co-op City shareholders first before we start investing in a whole bunch of other things. So if we're saying that our seniors are not getting the information in a timely fashion, then maybe we need to look within to find out why is it that our seniors are not getting the information that they need in a timely fashion. Instead of saying, well, what we're going to do eventually is, you know, we're looking at this system, we're looking at that system. It's unacceptable for years and years and years that the same problems keep coming up. We have to do something about it. When the problem comes up, let's put our heads together and make it work. Try to find ways to make it work instead of just coming up with excuses that, okay, now it's an election time, now let's get busy with it.
Thank you. Ms. Claudia Sampson.
I would like to mention the fact that we have an IT committee where I'm pretty sure.
Quiet from the audience. Allow her to speak.
The IT committee has the responsibility to address issues such as the fact that this particular issue, of which I'm not saying our board is looking into it. I don't think that was the answer. The reason that a lot of people here are struggling to get information is twofold. A lot of times we don't have email addresses listed. Sometimes we don't have cell phone numbers listed. I believe when we send out our carrying charges statements, we should include in there an update form to We do, but some people do not fill it out and return it. It is impossible to reach people when we don't have information to contact them. There are apps that we will be able to install if we get the funding to do that. So I'm not here to smooth and schmooze and sell anybody any snake oil about what the board does. Trust me, we do get the job done. We work hard. We are a volunteer resident board, and the management company does not live here. We live here, and it is our responsibility to set policy and to make sure that the managing agent overseeing their departments are taking care of this. I don't think all the departments are involved here, but we have CSO, and we have a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia Feliciano.
Thank you. So one of the, Co-op Cities Times is one of the avenues that we use for information. Unfortunately, I feel that a lot of residents don't read it the way, it should. You're definitely right what is said here, that we need to hold management accountable. But I personally am not a robot. I will tell management. Management has to be told. Basically what it is that they have to set the pace when we ask to improve on the policy. So it's bringing to them the needs of the community and giving them a certain amount of time to come back to us to say, this is how we're going to manage it. I agree with you 100% that there should be other methods to provide information to our shareholders. One of them, we have the co-op issue. If you read the paper online, we have, social media, we have the crawler, we have other avenues that we can use for our shareholders. But you're absolutely right that we need to continue to hold management accountable to you in order to make sure that your quality of life is not interrupted and that you have a better way of communicating, and they should have a better way of listening.
Bernard Silage.
The board sets policy. We met numerous times when I was president. We had this management meeting with them, and at times we did raise a question of communication. That's key. I tell them all the time, we can win a battle, but we'll lose the war by we don't communicate sufficiently to our cooperatives. Have they been fulfilling that? We think they have, but you know something? We're only 15 of us. We have only 15 pairs of eyes. You guys have to help us. When you find out that you're not being notified properly, you have to share it with us so we can get after them. That's the only way it's going to happen. We're not miracle workers, and we're not all over the place. However, you, as cooperative, have a responsibility to share this with us. You're co-owners here. If you have a problem, you see a problem, management is not fulfilling their responsibilities, you got to tell us because we'll go after them. That's the only way it's going to happen. Now, I'll give you an example, okay? When I first got on the board, you notice the littering around the buildings? When I brought this up to a building grounds committee, the management pointed fingers at everybody else. They were all responsible for it. Well, we straightened it out. It's the porter's responsibility to clean around the buildings twice a day, 18 feet beyond the building perimeter. And notice how much cleaning this.
Thank you. Angelo Rosario.
No, it's hard to be able to put it in such a short time, but how to present it. But what I think that we need is better communication with each other. There are many organizations here that could communicate one with another in order for us to get the message out. Even when we put it out, they said in the papers, some people don't read the papers. Even when we make the telephone calls, they don't pay too much attention to it. But one thing that I've seen through the many years that I've been here is that we need to be able to help each other, to be able to talk to our neighbors in the building, and maybe put it out, whatever is important, put it out maybe a week before, 2 weeks before, But there are things that are emergencies that we cannot put them out there that quick because they just happen overnight. Yesterday, there was a big flood in Building 30. No one was able to get to the people and let them know because the pipe broke. So the idea is how do we communicate better with ourselves? And that we maybe use ourselves as a channel to be able to help each other. How do we communicate with a pair of eyes to security so that we could tell them exactly what's going on? Because we're all involved in the same solution to help each other. As a unit, working together, we could make Co-op City greater than what we think it is. Because what's happening now is nothing new under the sun.
Thank you. So before I go to the next question, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming and being able to see this very great and very big crowd. And I know I won't get the opportunity because it's going to get late, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for that. The next question is from 3 different people because we had to combine it because it was in regards to the same issue. From Mary Pearson of 27A, from Deborah Lomax, who just identified herself as a Section 5 shareholder, and from Ellen Schwartz, who is from 15B. So the question is, please let me know what you know about the disparity in Section 5 bus service, specifically regarding the loss of the BX29, the new BX25, the Q50 unidirectional route, and the BX23 early morning routes. And also wants to know, how can you improve the bus service into Section 5? We're going to start with Miss Shanna Montgomery.
I don't know much about the service going to Section 5, but I do know we need to get our local legislatives together and find out what they can do to help this, to assist us, because this is a problem, and this is going to be a problem as Metro North starts to open, and the parking situation is going to be worse there. I mean, I suggested a Co-op City shuttle bus that can possibly take cooperatives from, you know, the neighboring, from around where we are, where they don't have to take their car and put it in the parking lot of Section 5. Maybe we can look at shuttle bus services, but I don't know much about why these buses have stopped coming to. I think it probably has something to do with the Metro North coming there, and the local officials will never tell you that it's a strategic plan as to why they are stopping bus service going there. But I think the board should have a meeting with the local officials to find out what is happening and why is it that we are not getting the type of service that we deserve to have, and why is it that it was so quick and easy to implement the Metro North to come there and all these other implementations that they're putting out throughout the city, but you can't help us in Section 5. So we definitely need to, you know, sit down with local officials and find out, instead of doing picture ops and only coming when it's time to take a picture and then moving on from the community. No, walk them to Section 5 and let them speak to the community and find out what's happening in the community for real, not just doing public.
Thank you. Andrea Leslie.
That's a very big question. Well, a number of things. Some of the bus service got cut because MTA decided that their budget was not sufficient to service all the communities in the way that they used to be. So that's part of the effect. The Metro North train station has been a plan for, I think, maybe like 10 years, and each year they put it in their budget and take it away. So it's been a plan for a while, but they're always trying to find funding for that. So I guess they found funding for it. So, and it was depending on how they moved, I think, the trains from Penn Station and Grand Central Station, all of that. But that's the bottom line is our politicians need to be accountable to us, because they've made a lot of decisions in reference to our public transportation and haven't had a conversation with us. So we have to, as I pointed out before, we are hearing numbers, and if we vote in numbers, they recognize us as a voting bloc and will listen to us when we talk to them. So that's what we really need to do to change all of that. The number of bus numbers. For the Q50, I know at one point in time, it used to go from Section 5432 and then 12345. And I think at certain times in the morning, it doesn't do that. So we might be able to have them change that. we'll have to work on that. Our politicians
Thank
are the
you.
solution.
Thank you. Angela Rosario.
Yes, I don't use the buses too much, but one of the things that we need to be able to do is to try to come together to be able to bring the legislators in to be able to work with us. At one time, I know that we brought in a lot of the legislators. We were out here and we made some changes because we had about maybe 1,000 people that came out. So Section 5, if we could do the same thing over there, we will be able to get 10,000 people over there, and they will listen to what we're demanding. Arthur Tal was here for many years. 25 years back, he was also trying to get Metro North. Carrion, the borough president, back then was also trying. They believed that we would get more benefit by having 3 stations coming through here. But the idea is that we need to be able to come, again, it's all about us voting, it's all about us getting together and forcing the lawmakers to hear what we have to say. So if we could get at least 5,000 people from Section 5 and 5 from Section 4, and we all come together, they're going to listen. Because Rod Sanders, he tried so many times and brought so many people in here. Bernie tried and brought them all in here. And this has been going on for a while. But we must be able to tell them, look, if you do not listen to us, we're not going to vote for you. Thank you.
Sonia Feliciano.
You know, we're a large voting bloc and we don't vote. And it's evident when we have these elections every year that we constantly have to extend the date. These are expenses that we all pay for. So we have to, the solution would be is to reach out to our elected officials and let them know that we are a voting bloc, that we matter, okay? Because one of the things I always say, shareholders first, we matter. And it's important. When Section 5 has an issue, Section 1 through 4 should be over there with them. When Sections 1 through 4 have them, Section 5 should be coming over here to help us. We are a family and we have to work together. As long as we're divided, they're going to take us as a joke. So we need to continue to fight for what we deserve. And it's to have good transportation, regardless of what it is. I don't care if it's bus, train. I don't care if it's the express bus. I don't care if it's the Metro North. We are deserving of that. We've worked hard for it. Thank you.
Claudia Sampson.
My understanding as to what is going on in the background with these buses has more to do with the influence of certain power brokers. They have an interest in making sure that these buses end up in Bay Plaza more than in anywhere else. If you look at the bus lines, they all end up in Bay Plaza. The 5, the 38, the 50, the 12. They all seem to be, it's a plan that does not serve our community. And I agree with my team here, Impact, that we have to put more pressure on our elected officials. One of our elected officials sits on our pain. The reason the Metro North took so long is, as my colleague, Ms. Andrea Leslie said, they had to figure out how to get the Grand Central Station tunnel squared away with the Long Island Railroad. That delayed everything. So what they're bringing us here is not necessarily for Co-op City alone. It's to make sure that people can get in and out
Thank you.
quickly. Thank you. To work, that is.
Mr. Bernard Silich.
When MTA cut the bus service in 2010, we organized rallies. That's what Angela referred to. We had a meeting here and overflowed into the yard. Then we organized and collected petitions, 8,000 signatures. We picketed MTA office. We demonstrated for 9 years. Finally, in 2019, they proposed to make more cuts. So at my initiative, we organized a rally here and we established a new ad hoc committee against the bus cuts. And soon enough, we won. However, I think it's time to reestablish the ad hoc committee with Section 5, get all the particulars, and start organizing campaigning to improve the bus service. I hope the folks in Section 5 will work with me. We'll establish it through the board, and we'll have a new committee working to benefit and improve the bus service in Section 5 and even throughout the community.
Ms. Leah Graham?
So I remember there was a time where we had an ombudsman here. We had someone that was connected with the city. We have a lot of elected officials here, and we should establish an ongoing rapport with them. We need to constantly make sure that they understand the transportation issues that we have in this community. And we did have a time when we would gather together, and we need to continue to have that kind of communication with them. For me, there was one point we had a hearing, and it was far away from Co-op City. I think it was on a Grand Concourse or something strange. But that's the time where we should come together and provide transportation for our shareholders to get to those hearings so that their voices regarding the bus service in this community is heard. I think that we have to start engaging our shareholders more, providing opportunities where their feedback can be heard. And if you elect myself, Leah Graham, and Shanna Montgomery, we will continue to create and establish some kind of communication and reestablish that liaison between our corporation and the city so that we can stay on top of what's needed in our community. Thank you.
The next question comes from Kelly Canzanieri of Building 27A. Her question is, still for Section 5, transportation issues facing Section 5 are enormous. The construction of the I-95 and Pelham Parkway is well underway. If completed as planned, the project will prove to be a much greater threat to the quality of life of Section 5 than the death ramp of Killer Curve. Do you know what is planned for, quote, the turnaround and, quote, ramp C? Question starts with Leah Graham.
Do we know what's being planned with the ramps?
So I'm not on the board yet, but if I was, I would probably have a whole bunch of information to share with the community. But just from knowing some of the concerns in Section 5 in the Metro North, there are a lot of different opportunities that we have available. One is that we should not make or allow people coming into our community through the Metro North, giving them priority parking. I know that some of us had talked about, we shared ideas, and there was a lot of comments on different ways that we could ensure that the Section 5 residents are not impacted by this Metro North coming into the community. And whether that meant allowing them to park somewhere else. Some other comments were providing the Section 5 shareholders with permits for their cars, allowing them to park in Section 5, and charging those that are coming into our community with parking in our Garage 5 that's not used as much, and providing them with shuttle to the Metro North. So it's really engaging our community and keeping our shareholders first. And any ideas and suggestions moving forward, any logistics that need to be done, always including those shareholders that are most impacted, and also getting their ideas. They live over in Section 5, and they know the different areas that could be improved. Thank you.
Shannon Montgomery.
Unfortunately, some things are inevitable, and we have to find creative ways to try to tackle it. I mean, we hired Douglas Elliman. Douglas Elliman is a huge conglomerate, with major connections. So we need to utilize that management company and ask them what their opinion is. What do they have planned for Section 5 and the upcoming changes that's going to affect the Section 5? We can't just, I'm not sure if we're utilizing Douglas Elliman in the capacity that we should be. I mean, this is not their first merry-go-round. You know, they're one of the largest management companies in the world, in the country, if not the world. So I think, we really need to get, and I don't know if we still have them. I may be speaking if the contract ran out, so we do. I think we really need to utilize their expertise and sit down with Douglas Elliman to find out when this situation has happened before in a building that you guys managed on the same scale, or maybe not the same scale, but what actions did you guys take? What do you suggest for our community? What are the best practices moving forward? How can we get our local officials involved? And what local officials do you know, that can help us? If you have some local officials in your pocket, can they possibly benefit us somehow and get things moving for our Section 5 to create a better environment for them?
Sonia Feliciano.
So I tend to agree with Shanna on this in terms of getting more assistance for the Section 5. I mean, I go there, I'm there a lot because I also worship at a church all the way on Bowler Avenue, Palm Avenue rather. And even when I get there, like say on a Sunday, I gotta wait, it takes time because there's a lot of traffic moving. I'm concerned that if there were an emergency, how are fire trucks and other police vehicles going to get through, coming one in, one out? It's just, I sat one where we were talking to our legislative officials, and I kind of found that they weren't very caring enough to be able to get us what we need. And, it's bringing Section 5 to the table, which we are doing. Section 5 to the table because they live there. They know best as to what needs to be done to improve their quality of life regarding this ramp. And as far as parking, a shuttle service is a good idea, but let them pay for it. We're not paying for nothing here. That, when you're having people from the outside coming and utilizing our parking spaces, that sometimes I see our shareholders out there for hours waiting for a spot.
Thank you. Bernard Silage.
When I first heard that they were going to remove some of those barriers, Jersey barriers, those Jersey barriers were put there because we demonstrated this community 50 years ago demanding that they installed, because that killer curve without those barriers were actually literally had accidents with fatalities. And that's why after demonstrating for months and years, they finally conceded to put those barriers there. Now they came up with this program of removing some of those barriers and putting light there. I told them, I went to the meetings and said, "Oh, you guys crazy? This is insanity. You're going to open up the barriers that have been keeping people alive from accidents. Now you're going to open up and create a condition, accident-prone conditions." They listened to me. Did they listen to you? Then they went ahead and I proposed this raises privately. First, we had a meeting with them. Then I raised it at a Community Planning Board 10, and I had support from the Community Plan Board 10. Did they listen to them? No. They're still going ahead, and we went ahead and sent a delegation to Governor Hochul's office, calling for her to stop this crazy plan. And they didn't listen. Well, you see what's happening. We'll have to continue demonstrating until we get our justice, because it's not going to happen otherwise.
Thank you. Andrea Leslie.
The bottom line is that we still have to make sure that we're a strong, large voting political bloc, because politicians don't listen to anything else but those numbers. And if we don't seriously do that, we complain about everything else. If we don't seriously do that, that is always going to affect us. They're going to make decisions without our input and continue to do so. We have always tried, many, Bernie in particular, and we always are trying to rally. We have to protest until the very last minute. Never give up. So having those ramps changed is going to affect how you get in and out of Section 5, which already has its limitations. And so if we don't continue to fight and protest, then we're going to go nowhere. We cannot stop until the very, very last, if not after the last minute, because everything they start, they can stop. So if we don't seriously take that into consideration, then we're going to have to, we're going to be with Section 5, and everybody who goes to Section 5, it's not just Section 5, it's the whole community is going to be affected by doing that. Because even if you don't live there, you may visit there. So we have to make sure that we're building this block.
Claudia Sampson.
Thank you, Kelly, for the question. I think that the question was asking what's going on. The construction's there, but what is the point? What are they trying to do? I believe that the reason that the clover leaf, as they call it, is being worked on, they're trying to extend the lane. There's 4 lane. They're trying to create a 4th lane to allow traffic that gets off at exit 8B to access City Island and Orchard Beach more conveniently than there's always this bottleneck that occurs there. They're trying to widen that. They're also building an exit ramp off of the Hutchinson River northbound parkway at exit 9 that will bring you right into Bartow. That's what's going on. And I don't know about the other explanation given, but I hope that answers your question. They're just expanding it so that it's easy to get off and on of 95 and Hutchinson River Parkway at that intersection between exit 8B and exit 9. Thank you.
Angela Rosario.
Yes, I'm having a hard time today, trying to figure out if I told you what you want to hear or I told you the truth, because I just don't want to whisper things in your ears. The reality of the changing world that we're living in with transportation and everything else is not an easy solution. We could sit here and try to tell you what you think that you should hear, but how do we make these decisions together as a board? That we may be able to reason together, to be able to bring this to you and let you know what's really going on and how we could make changes. There are changes that are going to be able to be made, and there are changes that are not going to be able to be made, because we're working with the city and we're working with the government, and they also make their decision and they push it on us. We could push back and see how far we could push back to get something back that is going to benefit us all. Because at the end of the day, is what do we want when they want something and we want something? I always say when my wife wants something, I give her whatever she wants. She's the boss. We are the boss here. They have to listen to us also. And the moment that we show them that we are interested, they're going to push back and they're going to give us something back. Let's put something on the table. And let's take something back from the table so that we could compromise and come together. Okay? Thank you.
So the next question is from someone named Danielle, who did not give her last name, and someone named Mrs. Bonner, who did not give her first name. They are both from 28B. So the question is, cleaning up after your dog outside or in the elevator. Give me a second. How will you address this? Start with Miss Andrea Leslie.
I'm not sure if they're wanting me to find out if I'm going to be cleaning up after the dogs. We have a policy in reference to all of that, and there are laws that we have to abide by. So public safety has the ability to issue community complaints. So based on those policies and rules and regulations, whoever violates those rules should be assigned accordingly. I'm not sure what else there needs to be. We have to also, I guess, have more issue more pride in our community that someone would have their dog, you know, do something that is hazardous to other people. You know, you don't want to leave it. There's nobody who's going to clean it up if you're not cleaning it up, if you have the ability to do so. So we have to be mindful of that also.
Bernard Silage.
Interesting enough, you know, we occasionally see dog feces and so. However, you know who actually cleans up those? It's our porters. If they weren't for our porters, you'd be stepping all over them, all over there, remain, right? So what do we need to do? Yes, you can put all kinds of bills and fines and so forth, but what we need to do is educate folks to tell them, this is your community, you're co-owners here. You got to keep your own place clean, and you got to make sure your neighbor keeps it clean. And if you find somebody is not doing right, then you have to remind them. I'll give you an example. We have an elderly woman here in my building, a cooperative, and she saw the little kids there jumping on a tree, a little tree, you know, small sapling, and he starts breaking, you know, swinging on it. It's going to break the tree. She goes over to him, you got to get off my tree. She claimed it's her tree. And then, of course, they immediately stopped, and she told the mothers, hey, listen, this is our tree, not that boy's tree. We got to protect our property. Same with the question of the dogs. You got to tell those folks, hey, this is your property. You got to keep it clean like you would do in your living room. Perhaps we can get that thought across, and that's how we're going to win this battle.
Angela Rosario.
That's a tremendous question. You know, how do we stop a dog that has to go when you have to go? You got to go. You know, even grown-ups urinate in the stairwells, and people, human people, they shouldn't be doing it. I don't know, maybe we could help the people understand that they have to take out their dogs on time, one. Secondly, maybe you put a pamper on it, and, you know, so they won't go in the hallway. There got to be some sort of solution to try to help. There are people that they need a dog, and probably they have a problem also, so it becomes hard. Do I have a heart for them, for the people? Yes, I do. Do I have a heart for the dogs? Yes, I do, but not in my house. The idea is, how do we work together and try to help the people so that they may be able to live comfortable, have here in Co-op City, because the dogs are already here, right? We can't get rid of them. And we don't like a lot of dogs, but some of them are so pretty. You ever seen them small ones? So some of them are very pretty. I mean, like I said, I don't like them, but the idea is that they're here. So we have to find little forms and manners. How do we communicate better and help them to understand that they should be a little bit more considerate with everybody else that's around them, because they're here already. So we got to find a way to work together. Not in my house. I want to say to you, my daughters like dog, but I told her, take her to Florida.
Thank you. Claudia Sampson.
I don't even know how to follow that, Bishop, but I'm going to try. I do understand that people want to have comfort animal, dog, or some of them have two, some of them have three, but a dog, as you said, will do what a dog instinctively knows and wants to do. And I think that sometimes these accidents happen because, as you said, the people are not taking care of their animals and taking them out at the proper time. We tried putting out those disposable plastic bags, but then people started taking handfuls, so that didn't work out. And what do you do in the elevator? You turn around and you pick it up, you clean it up. But I guess people are embarrassed. The door opens and they don't want to be seen picking it up, and they run out. But that means that the person comes in afterwards, doesn't see it, steps in it. I have gone into my apartment and noticed a smell on the bottom of and I just take my shoes off right there. So that's the problem. You know, your dog is fine, but its feces does not belong on the bottom of my shoes or anybody's shoes for that matter. So we do have to do a better job educating people as to the inconvenience, the unsanitary, unhygienic problems that this creates. So we must work a little bit harder and educate people. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia Feliciano.
So we have 874 registered dogs here in Co-op City and countless unregistered dogs. It's a concern for me because one of the things I would consider, we had this before as an ad hoc committee to meet with dog owners and not dog owners and maybe come to some meeting of the mind. But I would think that the ones that respect the rules will be there and the ones that don't will not. So what can we do? Hit them with community complaints. So let's start increasing the fines. I know that one of the things that CCPD has done is they have strategically positioned officers in areas where there's more dog waste and go after those shareholders that are violating the rules. And that's what we have to do. Keep hitting them in the pocket to be able to help them understand that this is our community. And while we accept that we have dogs here, they also have to accept that there are shareholders that don't have dogs. And we have to live cohesively together. And I don't think that that's happening. So we have to be more respectful of each other. Thank you. Please re-elect the impact team: Claudia Sampson, Bishop Angelo Rosario, Bernard Silage, Andrea Leslie, and Sonia Feliciano.
Leah Graham.
So, dogs are trainable. But to answer the question that the person asked is, and this is what I share with my building association, is that if you see dog poop in your elevator, look at the time, look at the elevator, and when you call public safety, they can look at the tape and issue a community complaint. But you have to provide them with a date, the time, and which elevator. And then they're able to identify which cooperator took care of, which cooperative dog did that. We have had success in the past where they were able to identify and issue complaints. The other thing is that what I was happy about is a shareholder had provided me with an article that I had came up with back in 2016 called Rough Rough. And this is where we were trying to establish a relationship with dog owners so that they would understand their roles and responsibility here in the community. And perhaps having, issuing annual or quarterly newsletters so that they would know what their responsibilities are. And it was kind of cool because it provided them with things, places they can go to get their dog trained, and it was just very useful information. Thank you.
Shannon Montgomery.
This is a tough one because COVID hit all of us really hard, and we don't know the mental capacity of a lot of shareholders right now, and sometimes the only form of companionship that they have is an animal, that being a dog or a cat, a gerbil or whatever, sees fit for them to have. So this is a tough one because, people who do not have the pets, they don't really understand. And those who have the pets, they're not being as responsible as they could be. And I think I said this the last forum, maybe we can utilize Dry's a Loop space to have maybe a pet expo, a dog expo where we're inviting vendors in to, show the latest products and dog experts that shows what happens when you leave feces around and how dangerous it can be for the environment, how toxic it is for the environment, as well as if a senior citizen is walking and someone, not even a senior, just trips on that. So I think we have to work with our animal owners in the community and not try to penalize people, because I'm a strong believer that the mental capacity of this country as a whole is just not where it should be. I lost my mom to COVID. My mom was a dog lover, so I'm not a dog person, but I do understand. I think we all have to work together collaboratively, and I think a dog expo would bring in, pet shops and different experts to just help them out. Not bring the animals in the dries loop, but just their owners.
Thank you.
If you add up these numbers, it's more than 15 board directors here.
Next question is from Mr. Junius Williams from Building 21B. Question is for the new candidates, Leah Graham and Shannon Montgomery. Mr. Williams wants to know, when the people vote you in, how will you make sure that our finances are kept in the black? We could start with Leah Graham.
Well, the managing agent, I have to go back to that. It is the managing agent's responsibility, right? So board directors, we don't get involved in day-to-day. I don't want to get involved in day-to-day, right? If I hire someone to do something, my expectation is that they do that. And one of the things that board directors should be doing is evaluating that managing agent, because the first time that you identify that they have not reached success for this corporation, they would do something different. I think that it's important that we have ongoing budget meetings where we're looking at very key financial statements, like the cash flow, balance sheets. I'm listening to the managing agent explaining how they plan to, with the 27 departments, control spending. There should be budget caps, right? Because, otherwise we cannot move forward. I mean, we have these carrying charges that come in. They need to be paying attention to that. They need to be reporting to us. And every month we need to be looking at it. We should not be looking at the budget, I don't know, when it's time for an increase. I don't think that the managing agent should keep things secretive from the board. We also have an audit committee that we should be getting reports and providing some information in terms of how our finances are looking month to month. Thank you.
Shannon Montgomery.
We definitely need to do, as Leah Graham said, a budget overhaul. We need to find out the expenses that are going out and what's coming in. And to my knowledge, most of the shareholders' common charges is what's keeping the day-to-day, what's paying, what we're paying to pay the bills. We just really need to look at the budget. We need to look at the 27 departments. We're not a Fortune 500 company, so we can't pay salaries as if we're paying CEOs. We just cannot. We have to look at our hiring practices. We have to look at, of those 27 departments, how many people are in those 27 departments, and can we possibly merge some of those departments together and cut some expenses? I think departments also need to have a salary cap or a budget within each department to find out if they're keeping to that budget. We can't just spend money willy-nilly and expect to come in on time on budget. So we really need, and those who are responsible for keeping track of our budget, maybe we need to have somebody to keep track of what they're doing to make sure that they're working the books the way that they should, and the books should balance out the way that they should. I know we're probably spending an enormous amount of money in salaries. I believe it's like over $150 million a year in salaries alone, benefits and everything else, bonuses, I don't know, what have you. But we really need to take a look at that. We need to look at what's going out, what we're spending in-house, and corporations have 5 departments. We have 27.
Thank you. The next question is for all candidates. This is from Richard Velez of the Debs Place Townhouses. The question is, what is your opinion of the motorcycles and electric bicycles rapid riding on the Greenway by commercial and non-commercial individuals? What used to be a tranquil area for all residents to enjoy, either by sitting on the benches or bicycle riding slowly and safely, has now become a raceway. We're going to start with Mr. Bernard Silage.
Well, bicycles, I've been using bicycles all the time. It's not recent, except that they motorize some of them and put batteries on them. We've raised it with public safety, and they're aggressively pursuing some of these bicyclists who deliver it. That's who they are. And they located the owners who are usually vendors, and they've threatened to fine them and actually take their bikes away. So the public safety is aggressively watching them, but of course they can't be all over the place. And certainly we don't appreciate the vendors, the restaurateurs, sending these bikes, speeding through our greenways.
Ms. Claudia Sampson?
To echo what you just said, Bernie, the problem is that a lot of these delivermen, I guess they're on a time clock and they're trying to get across, but that's no reason for them to put us in their crosshairs, because sometimes they actually come close to interacting, knocking people down. That's a nice way of saying knocking people over. I've had to really yell at a few of them, but they just don't hear. They are on a tear. They're going fast. So we asked the CCPD to figure out how can we control this. And I think they have to wear their jackets with the name of the owner of whether it's a restaurant. And we also they have to have a sign so we can read the license or the identifier. And once we do that, we report them, and CCPD has been following up. The problem is that e-scooters, like motorcycles, people use them almost like weapons. They really don't understand how dangerous they are, and they speed at very high rates. With same thing with the garages. I've come to almost crashing into people coming down the ramps. People are just not paying attention. They don't care. They don't want to abide by the rules. So we have to impose stiffer fines on these people who are violating our rules. Thank you.
Andrea Leslie?
Having CCPD be more aggressive in reference to when they see these violations of vendors coming through the community. We should also be trying to develop a different relationship with some of the vendors that are shareholders order food from or anything else, and make them aware of our concerns. If we continue to develop that relationship, that may change how their delivery people come through our community. So that's what I think would make a bigger difference, them understanding that we want to utilize our support their business, but they have to be aware of our concerns so that we can change the relationship with them and us, and therefore change their behavior when they come into our community. I think that's one of the things that we probably need to do more than anything else. I ask that you vote for myself, Claudia Sampson, myself, Andrea Leslie, Claudia Sampson, Bernie Silage, Bishop Rosario, and Sonia Feliciano, the impact team, to move the progress that we've improved the progress and continue the progress that we've already made. Thank you.
Leah Graham?
I think also that is really building relationships with the commercial businesses in our community, and pretty much regularly, and having a way to, I think, as someone mentioned, being able to identify the delivery people that are moving around the corporation, around our community, and having conversations that include public safety. But definitely, I think it's important for us to increase our relationships with these commercial vendors in our community, and pretty much just holding them accountable as much as possible. I think once you explain what the process is, I don't think the delivery people are mean people. They're here trying to make a living, and it's just really a matter of them understanding what the rules are and just staying on top of that, what those rules and procedures are, and just reinforcing it over and over again until things just start to improve. Thank you.
Angela Rosario?
Yes, I just think that it's important, for CCP to be able to help, but that is not their main responsibility. But as we just know that the people that are working here and the storekeepers, wherever the venue is coming from, we need to be able to probably send them a letter explaining to them. We have a lot of seniors here, and we have a lot of children here. and that we don't need them riding through our community. And if they're caught riding through their community, not only are they going to get a ticket, but also the person that is riding the bike is going to also get a ticket, because it is very dangerous for seniors. I'm a senior. I don't look it, but the important thing is that I don't move as fast as I used to before. And my grandchildren come to see me, and they come out of a townhouse, and they come through there very, very quick. So I think that we have to work with businesses that are here that are using those bikes and let them know what is their responsibility and what we need to be able to do to work together to keep our community safe. So, I think that we could do that and make it better, because they're trying to make a living. I remember when I used to do delivery on bikes. I can't do that no more. Okay, but I think together we could make a difference. So, thank you very much.
Shannon Montgomery.
This is tough because, as everyone said, they're just trying to make a living. So it's tough to try to find some happy medium that's going to help everyone involved. I believe there was a law on the books for illegal motorcycles, so New York City started confiscating the motorcycles and illegal motorbikes, and they started burning them and putting them somewhere. And maybe we can just revisit and ask, NYPD, because our CCPD is already strained to the max, because, the budget has been cut for services from CCPD. But I think we should possibly get NYPD involved and ask them what were, the laws that had you guys confiscating motorcycles and illegal motorcycles that were riding through the community just racing. Now, it's a different story if they're delivering food and they want to be there on time because they need to get a tip. But I think, like it's already been said, you work with the local, find out from that if you can speak to the person on that motorcycle or on that scooter and ask them, who are you delivering from? And then just speak to the business and say, listen, this young man, a young woman came to the community and they were speeding. We have a lot of seniors here. You have to really tell them to be more careful when they're running around, because now we're not going to support your business and possibly give you a fine if we're working with this the police department.
Sonia Feliciano.
I think that as a lot of the, what was said here in terms of relationship building, we need to build a relationship with our delivery establishments, especially those that are very local, because one thing I will say, that we do a lot of takeout in Co-op City. A lot of takeout. My building probably is number one. One of the things that Chief Riley has done is reach out, to the establishments, build that relationship in order to get an understanding that this is our community, and you just can't run through here. Also, in the evenings, the young men and women who do these deliveries should be wearing reflectors and jackets, so you can identify when someone is coming, not racing ahead and trying to run somebody down. So we've done that to build that relationship with those, and yes, we will find people who are violating the rules. Please elect Team Impact. Claudia Sampson, Bishop Angela Rosario, Bernard Silage, Andrea Leslie, and me, Sonia Feliciano.
Repetition. Are you going to skip?
Thank you. So just to all of the candidates, just as a reminder, the mics are on. So when this is being recorded, if you are having side conversations, that is going to pick that up. We are highly advising you not to have those side conversations. So just a reminder in regards to that. So the next question is from, I believe it's from Zoe Halton of Building 6. It's a question for the incumbents only. Climate change is worsened by the energy burns in manufacturing. Recycling means much less energy burns in manufacturing. Recycling means much less energy that is burned. For example, aluminum cans can be recycled. Aluminum scraps use 95% less energy than those made by bauxite ore, which is a type of aluminum. Basically, Is Riverbay doing anything to increase the amount of recycling that it's doing? We're going to start with Bernard Silage.
Yes, Riverbay is constantly collecting metals and so forth, and they're selling it. They're selling paper, but now and we do get an income from that. However, the recycling is nothing that it's what the cooperatives need to do. Make sure that they bring all the recycled papers and cans, so forth, and put it in the compactor room. But in regard to conservation of energy, we met recently with Ocasio-Cortez's aid in regard to energy, getting some funding from the federal government to enhance our energy, conservation of energy. One of the things we are exploring is placing solar panels on our garages and getting some income from that. We're also looking at the geothermal system, trying to see if we can get energy from a different kind of a source rather than just burning gas and oil in our generating plant. So there is movement by management and the board trying to find other sources and saving energy and saving cost in the delivery of energy and heat and hot water to our co-op.
Angela Rosario.
Yeah, Co-op City has always been trying to find different ways to be able to do recycling since the law came in. We got different bins that we have outside, and we sometimes catch people going through our garbage because they want to take out our cans and they want to take out our bottles. And this goes to Patrick, where we have the recycling center there. And that helps us to be able to recycle the way the city wants and the state wants and not the way the people want. Because a lot of the people do not want to follow the instructions of recycling. So continuously, we have to continually educate, and there's a law that's called the law of repetition, that we must continue to repeat the same thing over and over and over again in order for us to bring them to an understanding. I think my wife does that good all the time. She repeats to me this or that, and it works. It really works, you know. But we need to be able to save more by recycling. It helps our community. It strengthens our community. It gives us an ability to be able to sell some of the stuff that is there so that we get some income back, because we don't get any other income unless it's from our carrying charges. So if everything goes up, we lose everything that we have. So I think that recycling is very important to be able to talk to the community.
Andrea Leslie.
Recycling is something that I've been talking with management about because it is a source of income, and any source of income that we have, I just think that we should be trying more to increase it so we can get more income, since to me, even though what makes differences for us is millions, but I think dollars and cents will get to millions if we keep working at it. We need to have more of an education program in reference to the shareholders, because I know for myself, I'll go into the compactor room and someone just dumps everything into a bag, and then more than likely the porter is not going to separate your garbage. So if we make more of an attempt to actually recycle, then it'll benefit the corporation. So we have to be mindful and create more of an education program to make shareholders aware, because I don't think they think that we make an income from that. So if they're aware of that, they may make more of an attempt to recycle. So then I think that would affect our community, the environment, and the shareholders on a whole.
Sonia Feliciano.
So one of the things we need to do better is educating our community regarding recycling. The recycling is done at the pantry, but we could best utilize those employees to do other things if we were more diligent in separating our garbage. Before I moved to Co-op City, I lived in a private house, and When I first moved there, the first thing they did is they had a package by my door, the do's and don'ts. Then I was required to go to the township and sit with them to understand you can't have a dirty car, you can't have this, you can't have that. They was very restrictive. And they gave you a can to put all your recyclables in there. We need to do better as a community. We have a lot of things posted in the compactor room, but working together, putting information in the CC Times, continuously repeating it, putting it in the crawler. Those are things we need to do to educate our community. And by the way, we used to get income from recyclables. We don't anymore because we used to sell our garbage to China. China doesn't want our garbage anymore. So as we continue to do continue to build upon that, I think we'll be a better community if we did the right thing by working together. You know, you do your share, I do my share, you do your share on an effort to help our community, because these are our homes. Thank you.
Yeah. Claudia Sampson.
Thank you for the question.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. I turned my now I can't get it. Okay, the question was, how do we do a better job with recycling? As you said, Sonia, we have to start at the home. We have to start on our floors. I don't know how many times I go in and I have to sweep up or have to clean up. But I think that we are getting better at it. Some buildings do better. Some floors do better. I think having a campaign, maybe a little friendly competition between different buildings, different floors, who recycles best, better. People need to understand that this recycling is important for our planet. I seen the other day these flip-flops. Flip-flops. You would think flip-flops are not important. Well, somebody came up with the idea to collect all the flip-flops, and they turned it into a product that they're now using in Africa. They have turned it into an economic engine in their community. We have to start thinking how we can use some of the recyclable products and turn it into a profitable way for our community, because we are not going to stop until we figure out the way to save our planet.
Thank you. Next question is from Linda Brown from Building 34. Linda wants to know, the participation of shareholders is key to the success of Co-op City. Please give examples of what you have done or plan to do to increase community engagement. We're going to start with Sonia Feliciano.
So one of the things that I advocate for is joining your building association. And sadly enough, there's a lot of buildings that don't get that representation. But we, one of the things we did in our building is we put flyers under the door saying who we are. We're a building association. This is what we do. Come join us. A lot of the times it does happen. We also have the ability for new shareholders to be able to get their information through either sales or CSO, where we can invite them to come to one of our meetings. So it has to start there. Our building association, having floor captains, talking to your neighbors. That's one of the more important things. We as board directors also chair committees. Join a committee. We have I think 20, 30 committees that we can participate in, and all it takes is an hour of your time, 2 hours of your time once a month, and you'd be surprised the ideas that come out of those committees that we can together. Okay, because it's not about the 15 of us. It's about the 50,000 or so of us in this community, and we have to work together, united, to be able to come out with ideas to be a better community.
Shannon Montgomery.
We have an amazing center at Dreiser Loop that we paid so much money for, I believe $6 million, and it's just sitting there a lot of the time. I think, bringing concerts there, bringing, having bingo night there, having a community game night, just having a QR code that's put in the building that says, it's game night if you want to participate, so we can find out how many people want to participate. I think we're not utilizing our community centers the way that we can. So if we definitely, we come together and we can charge, for concerts, and we can get it at a discounted rate, and it can just be concerts for just the community. And then other people can rent it out for concerts and things like that. But we have such a beautiful community rooms in Dreiser Loop, and I just don't think they're being utilized the way that they should be to bring the community together. Half the community probably have no idea that the center has been renovated to the extent that it's been renovated. And it looks amazing. So I think, game nights, just one thing that I love about Co-op City is we always had activities, Halloween activities, Christmas activities. I think since pandemic, we haven't had a lot of that. I think we need to bring that back. Bring the, when we used to have in the middle of the Greenway, where all the vendors come and they have food and everything. We just need to bring that back. Movie night, I don't want fireworks in September. Let's bring that back in July 4th.
Thank you.
I'd like to address that.
Claudia Sampson?
Thank you. That is a perfect segue. The reason that we had fireworks on September the 3rd was because the date was not available to us, because other people also scheduled it for July the 3rd. We will be having our fireworks again this year on July the 3rd. We also did the fair in June last year, and there will be a June 3rd community fair. Bartow, Dreiser, Einstein, there's a lot of space, I agree, and we utilize it well. In fact, we had game night last Friday in our community room, in our association room. We are doing a lot. You may not know these, but we have 42 community-based organizations. I have the list to prove it. What I see as my role is to bring all of those community-based organizations in a town hall to talk to each other, to get to know more about each other, to help each other, because that is what my role is here. And Michelle Sejus has done a phenomenal job doing her concerts in the summer, so stay tuned. You will have your tunes on Tuesdays and Wicked Wednesdays. So we are busy. We are planning, and we are going to be executing. Thank you.
Angela Rosario?
Yeah. I think we always do better together. If we all work together, we will be able to create a venue that's going to be able to help us all. For some reason or another, I was up with a couple of doctors in Bartow today, Dreiser, and all the community centers were full. I went into every one of them. You had seniors and some doing exercise. You had meetings in the other ones. You had food in the other ones. And I hadn't gone upstairs in a while. Then I went into the auditorium where they were all being fixed because they have meetings that are coming up that are, that they're rented for. So we're trying to bring that together. But the only way that we could always do things better is by working together. If we all work together, we will be able to bring the joy that we really want. We have a tremendous community. I'm in love with Co-op City. That's why I'm still here. If not, I'd be gone to Florida with all the other seniors. But the truth is that I love Co-op City. And my children, they told me, Pop, get out, come on. But Co-op City, to me, I've been here 40 years, and I love it. I love our community. I love our people. I love the way we interact, even though that sometimes people get mad at each other. But that's a good thing, because it makes us think. So I think that if we come together and work together, we will be able to create the changes that we want to see all together. Not only the board. We're only 15 ugly people, and we need the rest. Okay? We need you beautiful people. Okay? Thank you.
Ms. Leah Graham?
Yeah, so community engagement, I think, could start with when we have open board meetings. I'm one that's really big on shareholders' first gallery sessions. rather than having shareholders wait throughout our board meetings and then some leave and they don't get a chance to share some of their concerns, ideas, and solutions for the community. So I think that's one way to engage the community is realizing that their input is important and that we should probably adopt doing something with them first. Even if we have a meeting that's just a town hall meeting just for the shareholders where we get to just listen and hear what they would like to share with us in terms of improving our community. Another thing that I made a note of here was the cost of renting our rooms. We need to be mindful that these organizations, that there were some changes in the room rates, and some of the organizations can't afford those rates. And I think that we need to take a look at that and better identify in-kind services and what that should look like. But it should be fair across the board, and we should not be paying the same as outside people coming in to use our room. I think the organization rate should be better. Thank you.
Bernard Silich.
When I moved in here in 1970, there was an organization called Advisory Council. Advisory Council was established by the sponsoring board, and the state actually recognized it as a tenant organization, although we're a cooperative. That advisory council had 4 representatives from each building, 1 from each cluster townhouse. We had 147 members of that advisory council. It was a Congress. It met monthly at dozens of committees. In fact, that advisory council organized a delegation to Albany, lobbying in 1975, sent 50 busloads of cooperatives there. And later on, they part of the strike committee, and they were able to organize and hold the 13-month strike. That committee was disbanded really not intentionally when the board was seated. The owner board, and then at that point the advisory council was actually liquidated. We need to re-examine that because cooperatives think, when can they actually express in the governance of this co-op? Only once a year when they vote, right? Well, we need to re-examine and bring back a Congress that will have 147 members to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie.
Ms. Andrea Leslie.
Well, I'll repeat what a number of people have said, a number of members have said, candidates have said. Becoming a part of your building association, joining build a community organization. That's the basic things that you should do. The minute I moved in, I was part of an organization. I was trying to find out a building association. I was trying to make sure that I was finding out from them what was going on, what I should know, what I should do, and from there encouraged to participate more. And part of the reason that I ran to become a board member was because I wanted to have some more say in the governance of where I lived, how my life was going to be affected by all the rules, regulations, and whatever else happened here in Co-op City. And that's why, too, I was doing so as a working board member. I think I might have been one of the first working board members because everybody waits until they retire and have more time. It's not that I had more time, but I thought it was important for me to spend that 2 hours, 3 hours, and no board meeting ever lasts 2 hours. We've had 4 or 5 hour meetings and on a regular basis. So that I wasn't prepared for, but I dealt with it. And so that's one of the things that I think is more important, starting from the grassroots, building associations and organizations.
Thank you. So just to give you a suggestion of where we are right now, I'm going, because I can see everybody's blood sugar is getting a little bit low when your behinds are hurting on these cost-effective, budget-friendly chairs. So I do want to see if we can just get, if it's okay, that we can get just 2 more in, and then we're going to end for the night. All right. So I know, it's hard. So we're going to go to a question. My apologies, I don't have the shareholder's name because I know she's here, but she is from Section 5, so she wants to know. Last week, there was a garage that collapsed downtown. The news said that it was due to the weight of electric cars that the state is starting to require. What will you consider some solutions to avoid that problem occurring here? We're going to start with Bernard Silage.
Well, first thing we'll do is bring it up to construction committee and bring some engineers to give us some insight into why that garage collapsed and why ours will not collapse. That's how we're going to approach it. We're not engineers, we're not experts, but we will bring experts to tell us, to explain to us and what we need to do.
Thank you. Claudia Sampson.
I realize that everybody is nervous, just as we got very nervous when Surfside Towers fell in Florida and our inboxes started filling up with all kinds of questions as, are our buildings safe? And so we feel the same way. We're getting the same kind of reactions. That garage fell. It was not originally built for a garage, that building. It was created and built rather later. There are structural problems. We don't know why it fell. We cannot jump to any conclusions about our garages. Our garages are sturdy. They're built with concrete. There have been a number of assessments in order to get refinanced by HUD. We had to have our garages inspected. So I would say take a deep breath, relax. We are, as a board, going to do, as Bernie said, do what we have to do to ensure that the garages that are there will continue to stand. Trust me, they are sturdy and they are secure. Please vote for my team. Team Impact. Me, Claudia Sampson, Bernard Silage, Bishop Angela Rosario, Sonia Feliciano, and Andrea Leslie, who had to do a biological break. And I think some of us also would like to follow in her footsteps. So I'm going to stop right here. Thank you.
No worries. Well, not Andrea Leslie. Angela Rosario.
And I guess in the last 15 years, our garages had been inspected many times over and over to make sure that they are strong enough to hold the changes that come. The other thing is that garage, the collapse, that was made back in the late or early 50s. So it was not made with the same intention that we have today. But I was thinking the other day that they're talking about the electrical cars. I don't know if you remember the cars, the 1940 cars, how solid they were and how heavy they were. They were all solid steel. You know, you could hit something. Today you get in a small accident, your whole car falls apart. But before, the cars were very heavy, very strong. And
Tanks.
Tank, they were like tank, you're right. So, so we have to think about all that thing. Fear is a good thing that happens to all of us. If we don't have fear, we don't try to assess the things that we need to be able to assess to make a better decision. But we should not live in fear because fear will destroy us. We have to be able to allow our contractors or our engineering department to be able to assess whatever is going on. So I think that we will do that and we will follow up on that every year with all that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia Feliciano.
I think it's, as Bishop Rosario mentioned, it's assessing. One of the things that we have done as management company and as a board is to make sure that our garage are sturdy. We finished work on Garage 2. We're working, I believe it's we did Garage 7, I believe we're working on Garage 8, and we're going through all the garages. We also have a parking and leasing committee where members of that committee are the eyes and ears. So the parking and leasing will report out anything that they feel needs to be addressed. But in terms of having any issues with our garages, I don't think that that's going to happen. We stay on top. Years ago, what was happening is we had to close our garages down and then build, blacktop for our cars in the, in the greenway. That's not going to happen again. So I am confident that our garages will be sturdy for whatever years, we're living in Co-op City. Thank you.
Leah Graham?
Hello. Okay, so I would want the managing agent to provide a schedule in terms of the frequency that they do inspect these garages. I have to tell you, I live in Garage 6, and a couple of months ago, I could see the rebar. It was a concern for me, and I did take pictures. So I'm not certain how sturdy the garages are, but I would totally be expecting the managing agent to provide a schedule in terms of the types of inspection that's done, the frequency of them, and explaining why we would see certain areas of the garage that is falling apart, because that did happen, and I did see that. In terms of the electric cars, I think that it would probably be safest if we did have charging stations outside of the garage and not inside of the garage, especially in light of some of the things that we've been seeing with these batteries and how they just catch on fire and just really a risk. So for me, I would say that if we start moving in that direction with having electric chargers for cars, that they should not be inside, they should be outside of the garage. Thank you.
Andrea Leslie?
I believe what we need to pay attention to is how our garages were built and the building codes. And I think the issue with that particular garage might be all the reports are not completed yet, but that building initially it wasn't originally a garage. It was converted to a garage. And on top of that, it seems as though they were storing the heaviest, larger vehicles on top. In my mind, common sense would say that if you keep doing that, it's likely to collapse. If they were paying attention to building codes, our garages, I think, were built and supposed to be complying with way different building codes from the time that building was built. So from that garage was built. So I think that we would be abiding by others, and just because we have building codes that we have to comply with, the city, especially now, is going to make sure that everybody is in compliance with those codes, because then, there are consequences. And so paying attention to that, I'm probably creating more of a schedule in terms of repairing our garages and paying attention to how we maintain the garages, because that was the issue when we had issues with the garage before. There wasn't a maintenance schedule, there wasn't maintenance being done, period. And so that's what we need to be paying more attention to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so last question of the night. This comes from, I know, I'm trying to get as many of your questions as possible, so I'm trying to be fair about it, but I know you're tired. So this question is from Francine Brown, Building 19, who says, I have heard that the board eliminated the summer youth program, basketball tournaments, things of that nature, recently, despite Riverbay receiving a grant from Senator Jamal Bailey. If this is true, for current board members, why was the summer youth program discontinued? And for non-board members, what ideas do you have to keep the summer youth occupied during the summer?
It wasn't.
Start with Andrea Leslie.
It wasn't.
To my knowledge, that wasn't eliminated, and I don't know, because some of that funding also came from the Riverbay Fund, because we have a grant that gets issued to us. We have to pay first, and then we ask for reimbursement. So that's how some of the monies that we plan to use is spent. So, and from my knowledge, it's not been discontinued. We do have plans to have activities for our youth this summer. We just haven't finalized those activities.
Claudia Sampson.
Thank you. This perfect question to end on. First of all, there is no truth to that rumor. The summer basketball tournament, class, clinic, whatever you want to call it, has not been eliminated. I just finished speaking with the CEO, and I got a number of phone calls from parents who were concerned. The reason that there was discussion is last year the corporation paid half and the fund paid the other half. And this year the corporation is not paying a penny. The fund has to fund this. We discussed the budget. We discussed ways that we could trim the cost of a one-week program, and that's where we are at. With regards to Congressman Bowman, there is no truth. He is not sponsoring this program. I think your information is a little bit convoluted. We do get funding. Once we spend the money, we submit the receipts, we get reimbursed by the DYCD agency, Department of Youth and Community Development. We are 3 years in the red, waiting to be reimbursed for all the expenses we have incurred over the years. The program is going to happen. Trust me, and you will be very pleased to see the results of this endeavor and many others through the Riverbay Fund. So please, hold on. We're coming. Thank you.
Leah Graham.
In terms of providing employment for our youth, I think that it's important that we coordinate with the city and state and that we are utilizing their summer youth programs for our youth in the community. I think that for transparency purposes, I think that it's important that we explain and share how the employment selection is done. I know that there has been concerns around the community for their youth, wanting to know how that process went, how was children selected, are the same children being selected over and over again, and then not only not using our funds, like technically really going out and utilizing and meeting the deadlines for the application process so that we can be part of the city summer youth program for our children and allow even more children to be involved. I think there was a very limited amount when we use our own funds because we're limited, but I think if we go ahead and branch out and know the deadlines to utilize the city programs for our children, I think that would be best. Lastly, I think that it's important to provide some job training for our children as well in the community, partnering them with some of our seniors, showing them how to do maybe some janitorial work, how to do buildings and grounds work, how to plant flowers. I think that helps as well.
Thank you. Sonia Feliciano.
So, as Claudia mentioned, the basketball program is still alive. It's basically budgeting a certain amount of money. As she mentioned, that program was half paid by the corporation and half paid by the Riverbay Fund. Unfortunately, we're not using any corporation money to pay for anything. Do we have to use a Riverbay Fund when we have projects or programs that need to be paid and sponsored for? So when the community comes and says, I need a certain amount of money, they provide us with a proposal and we grant them the funds that they need. Also, we used to have a summer youth employment program. This year, we decided to do something different. The program was going to cost us $160,000, which was something we could not afford based on our budget. So what we did was we went to the Department of Community and Development under the Summer Youth Employment Program. So we're hoping, we're on the list, that it's going to come. We haven't gotten any additional information, but we are on track to try to get that program in here. It's not going to cost us a dime.
Thank you. Shannon Montgomery.
First, we need to ask the youth exactly what programs they would like to see here and what their interests are, because everybody's not playing basketball. We used to have a wonderful program here, a tennis program here, and when he passed away, I don't remember his name, forgive me.
Alexander.
He had a wonderful tennis program. My daughter was even involved with that. And it was just such an amazing program, and he did it out of the kindness of his heart. And we have the tennis courts that are right there. Again, we can use Dries a Loop, have game nights, have, dance nights for the kids. We can also, do soccer. We can team up with local businesses, like there's a karate studio in Dries a Loop. We can ask him about his summer youth program that he has. I think for the summer youth, I'm not sure the logistics of it, but we can easily ask the state for funding for the summer youth program, because a lot of places, a lot of schools, they hire summer youth where it's not on the back of the school to provide funding for that or to pay the youth. It's through the government that they pay so kids can have something to do. We can also just put together, advocate for students to have somewhere to go and use those community rooms again, where when it's really hot outside, they have somewhere to go. They can have fun game nights, they can have fun dances, and we can even charter buses at some point where they can go to museums, visit parks, and just like we do with the seniors and they go to Atlantic City. We can do things like that for the youth.
Thank you. Angela Rosario.
Yeah, most of these programs, they're still alive. They're still working. The tennis is still on. Mr. Alexander that passed away, his wife still runs it. They bring in a lot of coaches from the outside to be able to help. But and a lot of the programs that we brought in-house to be able to bring our youth to be able to work on the grounds and work as porters here, that program was still going on. We changed it this year to be able to save some money. But what I understand is that the training that they get, as she said, is very important to train our young people in trades. So what was happening? Those young men that were being trained here, some of them went to college. Some of them didn't go to college, but when they became of age, they working here because they were trained in the grounds and in the buildings. And then when they finished those areas, our organization, the 32BJ, at that time they had training, so we trained them also to go to learn the trades, electricity, plastering, painting, so we were able to help them. The new program that is coming in now is not going to be just for our young men and young women that are here in Co-op City, because we have to take whoever they send us and have them here. The good thing is, okay, we're not going to pay any money, but I would rather pay the money to train our young men and our young women to be able to help them and take them to the next level. Okay, I'm interested in having the other ones from the valley, from wherever they come, from Russia, but I need the ones that are here to stay healthy.
Thank you. Mr. Bernard Silage.
Everyone covered the base, and I agree with them all, so I'll pass on.
Highly appreciate it. So the last thing that we have to do, like we said, is just the final closing statements. You have up to 90 seconds. As you know, you do not need to use all of them. So we are going to start where we started with Ms. Leah Graham.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. As you guys know, my name is Leah Graham, and my teammate is Shanna Montgomery, and we are asking for your vote in this year's Riverbay Board of Elections. This election process is not a joke, and being a board director is a big responsibility that must be taken seriously to protect our seniors, keep our community affordable, and our quality of life intact. And because Co-op City is a $200 million corporation, it is my opinion that not just anyone should serve. You should not just hire anyone to run your corporation. Your vote means just that. The initiatives to increase our cash flow left cooperatives saying, what happened to our money? The additional 2.1% increase passed last month, which did include the incumbents, was, in my opinion, disrespectful and not a priority. The focus seemed to have been on the waterfront part. So Shannon and I need your help to help improve the business of the board, advocate for treating Riverbay employees with respect, providing department heads and supervisors with constructive feedback, and most importantly, holding the managing agent accountable for the success or failure of our corporation. That is what we pay for, that is what we deserve, and with Shannon and I on the board, we will help with that. Thank you.
Shannon Montgomery.
Testing, okay. I won't keep you guys long. We can make promises from today until tomorrow, but Leah and I, we have a strategic plan and we have innovative ways of thinking of how we can bring this community together, how we can try to solve some of the problems that are inflicting our community. And promises are always made during election time, especially for those who are trying to be reelected. So if you're fixing things within the process of election time, it doesn't count. It doesn't make much of a difference because you have to put these things together. I heard a lot of shareholders complaining about different things that they want to see and what should happen. And I've heard it being said, oh yeah, we're doing that right now. This is what we're working on. It's been 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. It's not what we're working on, it's what we have already accomplished. And if you vote for Leah Graham and myself, Shannon Montgomery, we promise to advocate for you guys. We promise to make sure that you guys have a voice, that you're not just sitting there in limbo and just clapping and just, that we're trying to make real change and trying to make sure that our community thrives and that our community goes on, that we're not taken over by some conglomerate or some corporation and they price all of us out. We need to maintain integrity of our community. We need to maintain our bills, and we need to make sure that we're affordable, that we can all afford to live here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonia Feliciano.
I ask that you re-elect the impact team: Claudia Sampson, Bishop Angela Rosario, Bernard Silage, Andrea Leslie, myself, Sonia Feliciano. One of the things that I have done, I wear my, the passion for this community on my sleeve. And and as a board director, strive to manage our resources efficiently, ensuring that ensuring that we are fiscally accountable to you. So we work hard at that. And there's some things that I'm going to say about, but for the most part, it's a 15-member board. And we may agree to disagree, but I think we've worked together well to be able to manage what we do as a team. And a couple of the things that I will mention to you is that that we have the issue coming 2035 or 2050 with the, going over from carbon emissions to electricity. So we are applying for the grants of, solar. We are applying to see if we can explore district heating and geothermal or hydrogen for, to move us off gas to become more efficient. We have 27 departments, but we have, thank you.
Bishop Rosario.
Yes, it is a reality that we have 15 board members, and we all vote to be able to make the decisions that we make together. Maybe one or two do not agree, sometimes I don't agree, but the majority rule, trying to make the best decision that we could for our community. If we take a good look at this community, you and I will agree that we're not all going to agree all of the time. But what we do agree on is that if we come together to be able to save our community, keep it affordable, there got to be changes. There got to be budgets that have to be changed. They have to go up and they have to come down wherever we could cut. So if we work together, we are able to make the best decision to balance this out. Because it ain't about us hating one another. If we do not work together as a board, then we have a problem. The 5 that are running, we're trying to do that. We may not be perfect at it because they're better at it than me, but the idea is that we're trying to do the best that we could, study to find ourselves approved, to make the best decision that we could for our whole community. Because I'm not a budget expert, But I got people that are around us that know budget better than us. We got some board members that do tremendous work. When they inform us, I go home and I Google and I try to understand it better. Because I worked with budgets for a long time. So I vote for us. You won't be disappointed.
Thank you.
Go right.
Bernard Seilich.
Just an aside.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Oh, just an aside. I have the budget here, and every cooperator is entitled to see it and even get a copy. In it, for example, I just want to let you know that we earned $5,000 from scrap metal. So it's not zero, and it's not thousands and thousands of dollars. Anyway, getting back to something else. Every year, we've had, during the AC season, we have floods. Well, you know what it cost us a year to replace the tiles and damages? $7.3 million. We've been suffering with this for 50 years since the inception. And over 5 years, it's $35 million. Over 10 years, it's $71 million. So I believe we found a solution. It could be the solution that could tackle this problem that we've been struggling with for all these years. And I believe we are on the verge of accomplishing that. We're going to put in, they're already installed, this shuttle valve, automatic water sensor shuttle valve that will stop some of this bleeding and this flooding. So look for us, vote for us, we will implement that. Thank you.
Thanks much. Claudia Sampson.
First of all, I'd like to make sure that everybody's aware there is nothing in this budget for a water park. So let's get that out of our brains and let's understand the reality. We received a $500,000 grant with the help of Congressman Jamal Bowman that I submitted with my staff and a consultant. We got the grant. The grant works this way. You spend the money, you get reimbursed. It is there. We got a beautiful park in Section 5. Okay? That's a beginning. That's not the end. We're going to have the same, and if not bigger, waterfront park on Bartow Avenue. Just stay tuned for that. Furthermore, you talk about what have we done lately and what did we do. I'll tell you what we did. I just got an email from Congresswoman AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, telling us that we're one of 15 projects that she is submitting to the House Appropriations Committee so that we can get that $1.5 million to start working on renovating the bingo hall for our youth. So those are the things that I want to tell you. Vote for this team, and you will see the progress that we are going to make. Andrea Leslie, Claudia Sampson, Bernard Seilich, Bishop Angelo Rosario, and Sonia Feliciano. Team Impact. Thank you, everybody.
Andrea Leslie.
How do I follow that? My name is Andrea Leslie, and I ask that you re-elect myself, Andrea Leslie, Claudia Sampson, Bernie Seilich, Bishop Angela Rosario, and Sonia Feliciano, the Impact team. I'm proud to be a board member that has made scores of accomplishments, making sound decisions, and enhancing her quality of life, as well as addressing and restoring our infrastructure. I pledge I will keep you in mind when I pledge to keep your well-being in the forefront of my mind whenever I'm making decisions that will affect the community and all that are residents here. I pledge also to continue to work to stabilize our financial status, seeking innovative ways to earn income outside of carrying charges, to improve the customer service that we provide, and to keep Co-op City affordable. Thank you very much. I ask again that you vote for myself, Andrea Leslie, Bernie Seilich, Claudia Sampson, Bishop Angela Rosario, and Sonia Feliciano. Good night. Thank you for coming. Oh, voting starts on the 1st and ends on the 26th. The sooner you vote, the better the election process is over. Thank you.
I got it, Andrea. Thank you to everybody here for staying so late. Highly appreciated. As she said, go home and get a snack and do what you need to do. And after you do that, go home and vote. And also encourage your neighbors and fellow shareholders to vote as well. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.